The D.C. Council voted this week to push back the COVID-19 vaccine mandate for kids to attend school. The no shots, no school policy is now set to go into effect for the 2023 to 2024 school year. So what do parents and grandparents think about COVID in schools? Rasmussen reports wanted to learn more. The Rasmussen asks, is the COVID-19 virus still a major threat, a major public health threat, or is the danger mostly over now? And let's take a look at what they found. 33% said COVID is still a major threat. The majority of respondents, however, 62% said the danger is mostly over, and 5% said they're not sure. Rasmussen reports also asked about the CDC's controversial vote. It asks, advisors to the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, known as the CDC, recently voted to add the COVID-19 vaccine to the list of routine immunizations recommended for all children. Do you approve or disapprove of making COVID-19 vaccination routine for all children? 28% said they strongly approve, 20% said they somewhat approve, and 13% said they somewhat disapprove. 35% said they strongly disapprove, and 5% said they're not sure. And this was the most telling. Rasmussen reports asked 1,000 Americans, should public schools make COVID-19 vaccination mandatory for students? According to the new poll, 58% said no. Let's bring in Rasmussen Reports head pollster Mark Mitchell to break all of this down for us. Welcome back, Mark. It's good to see you. I don't find this that surprising because there's not been a lot of parents voluntarily take up the COVID-19 vaccinations for their children. But what does this new poll tell you?
Well, there's still some true believers out there. And I'll tell you, it was an issue. I mean, COVID's over. It's dead last on our list of voter concern issues. Only 20% of the voting population is very concerned about it anymore. And that puts it at levels that are half of that of like climate change and the Capitol riot. So people really don't care about COVID anymore. And yet, because of the vaccine issue, it persists. So we're going to continue to poll on it. And one of the great things is because of that, we have polling over time. So to break down each of these and how it's changed over time, the big headline to me is how few the number of American adults think that COVID is still a major health threat. It's down to 1/3, and by a 2-to-1 margin, people say that the danger is mostly over. We asked that question as recently as June, and 40% still said it was a major health threat, and 52% said the danger is mostly over. So a huge swing. Now, the demographic breakdowns are always interesting. And of course, it's being driven mostly by Democrats. So only 16% of Republicans say that COVID's a major health threat. But for independents, it's only 32. So independents match, Americans at large. But Democrats, 48% say it's a major threat. 47% say the danger's mostly over. But they've broken below a majority for the first time. That's really big news. Mm-hmm. Now, looking also at this, there's one thing that really stands out to me that just goes against logic. And, I would ask your viewers to look around and see the people that they know who are still concerned about COVID. It's the young people. So if you break it down by age, 39% of 18 to 39-year-olds still say it's a major threat. But for everybody else, it's under 30%. And the big one really is men under 40. For some reason, 45% of men under 40 still think COVID's a major health threat. I want to skip ahead to incredible. So skipping ahead to the vaccine in schools, this is also another one that we've asked over time. Should public schools make COVID-19 vaccinations mandatory for students? Only 31% say yes. That number is down drastically. In August, it was 43%, so a 12-point drop there. So August, 43% said yes to vaccines in schools, 45% said no. So it was underwater 2, and now it's underwater 27 in just a 2-month period. So that's incredible movement. I have no explanation for that. And once again, it's men under 40. 47%, almost a majority of men under 40 say the kids should get the shots. And for everybody else, it's about 30%. And of course, Democrats, way more than everybody else.
That is really surprising to me, Mark. I'm trying to think of what would explain that, and I can't come up with an explanation or a thought to that. Have you all considered what might be causing men under 40 to be more supportive of shots for kids and scared of COVID?
I would love, we'll have a video for this probably later today or tomorrow. If viewers want to come and post their theories, I haven't figured out how to pull it yet, but all I have is anecdotes. And I know some young men in their 20s who have been heavily affected by COVID and are kind of paranoid about it. But then also potentially there's that aspect of, men under 40 are asked to do some pretty dangerous things. So everybody should buck up and just do what they need to do for society. So I really don't know how that shakes out. But more than men under 40, Democrats are driving the signal. Only 15% of Republicans, want kids in schools to get the vaccine, but it's 54% of Democrats. So a pretty stark difference there. The number for independents is in the low 20s. So it's Democrats who are the vaccine.
I do find that it's interesting that Democrats are still, by and large, for kids getting shots in school, and yet clearly there's not enough public sentiment or compliance with it for a heavily Democrat district, the District of Columbia, to actually enforce the no shot, no school policy this school year. So again, that's sort of conflicting with what you found in some ways. This is always very interesting, Mark Mitchell. We always learn something that we didn't realize about how the public feels when you take these polls. Thanks so much, Mark.
Pleasure's all mine. Thanks.